And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
Hey, good evening, fine listeners, and welcome to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote musicians, bands, and venues. Gary LaBar, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm really excited tonight because not only do we have a very, 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 very talented woman on the show, but she has the most awesome hair I've ever seen in my life.
There you go. Well, folks, Gary's talking about the amazing Darby Mills, the Queen of Scream, and just what a voice. And we're honored to have you, Darby. How are you doing this evening?
I could be better, but I'm doing pretty good all in all.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you're doing pretty good all in all. That's great. It's, like I say, it's a pleasure to have you. Darby, let's do this. Let's start right at the beginning of how you were inspired by music when you were younger. Were your parents musicians? Did your brother have an album collection? Just how you got inspired and who you grew up listening to.
My parents had a family cabin on a lake in the interior called Maple Lake, and at night we'd start the bonfire down at the beach, and my dad would serenade us with his wonderful soprano voice, and you could see the campfires across the lake. It was just under a mile wide, and after he would sing a song, you could hear the applaud from the campfires on the other side of the lake. And that scarred me. That scarred me. It left a mark, but that might be a better way of putting it. It just was, wow, that's so cool. And basically, I think from that point on, I knew that I would be in some kind of performance field, even at like 3 and 4 years old. I just always remember thinking I'd be an actor, and music came along easier, faster, as I had a band in high school that rehearsed in my parents' basement. And I went from there, moved to Calgary after graduation, and moved 50 times in the meantime, and then ran into the Headpins in 1979, joined the band in 1980, and the rest is a shit show made for queens. Yeah.
A shit show made for a rock and roll star. There you go. So what, okay, let me ask you this. I just want to step back just a little bit and ask you the first time you performed or sang or realized, hey, I can sing.
In grade 10, I went to a friend's house where he was rehearsing with his band, Kashmir, from Led Zeppelin. Actually, they were called Presence. Our band after was called Kashmir. But so I went to watch Presence rehearse, and the drummer was singing Crazy on You by Heart, which was an album that was very near and dear to me that year or two. And I was giggling in the corner thinking how asinine it was for a man to sing Crazy on You by Heart. Well, he stopped the song, in my memory, threw the album cover at me, which I believe had the lyrics on it, and said, you think you can do better? It's yours. Try.
Wow.
I did. And a month later, they had their first gig, and I was invited up to 100 Mile House, which is this little tiny, tiny place. I'm sorry, my puppy's having a fit here. Oh, babe.
No problem.
A tiny little town called 100 Mile House for their high school dance, and I got up and sang my one song. That was my first road trip, and of course the car broke down and overheated, and everything you hear about on road trips, it's true. It all happened, and came home and went. That's it. That's what I want to do. I really enjoyed being on the stage and getting to perform, which I had done as a figure skater since I was in grade 1 anyway. So, like I said, I was always meant in my innermost thoughts were convinced that I was to be a performer of some sort.
Yeah, sure. And the thing about that is you have to be usually a good singer. A lot of people think they can sing like myself, but we suck. So, the voice, did you take singing lessons at all? The voice, I know, of course, obviously you were born with that voice. And I guess most musicians are. Sure, you can get better by practicing and better by taking lessons, but not just anybody can fill in with a band and sing Crazy on You. So I'm just wondering if you took lessons or it just comes naturally right out of you.
I did end up taking lessons once I'd been hired by the Headpins. They set me up with a couple different teachers.
Cool.
Came away, Tony Robbins, the one vocal coach that did give me something to take through to this day, ended up leaving Vancouver and going out to be Tony Robbins' vocal coach, and so I'll keep that to me for now. But no, shortly after the performing with Presence, that band broke up, and I started a band in my parents' basement called Kashmir, and it was there that the guitar player, which was 14, 15 years old, brought the Pearl album to a rehearsal one day and said, "You should listen to this. You sound like her." And I was probably 15, 16 at the time, and I'd never heard of Janis Joplin before. And so I put it on and went, okay, so there's a
like I have goosebumps right now. When you're telling me the story, I have absolute goosebumps. What a great story. You've never heard of Janis Joplin. You never heard of Janis Joplin. You get the Pearl album. I'm sorry to cut you off. Keep going. That's just crazy.
That's okay. No, that's basically it. So I did have a natural growl, I guess, to my voice, and that comes with the amount of air you push or the amount of damage you've done to your throat, one or the other, which I now have done both. So, or
how much you smoke,
or how much you smoke, and there were definitely years that I partook in all those terrible things. So yeah, I've put my voice through a whole lot, and at my ripe old age now of 60 plus, it's it's like how many years I've got left to be able to hit those notes and do those headpins. So actually my solo stuff is even harder to sing than the headpins. So, I'm hanging on to these final years and enjoying them the best we can. And of course, COVID comes along and just kicks that right in the butt. So it was not the right time to be taking 2 years off, as a leather-lunged singer. Even though I did put together a project here in the Okanagan to work the wineries, not realizing that the 50-person show might be the only shows to happen for the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know, but I have a future in the industry when the Janis Joplin side of my voice decides that it's had enough.
Right. Well, let's hope that never happens. Let's move ahead now to the Headpins. And that you signed with the group in '81. The group began at 3. You guys began a 3-run album run at the top of the Canadian charts. Your debut album, Turn It Loud, quickly went platinum and topped the charts for 6 weeks.
Double platinum. It was the fastest double platinum album in Canada at that time. It went faster than any other album in Canada to that date. So that was something that we held and waved the flag about a fair amount in those days. Yes.
But okay. So now that happened. First album comes out, goes double platinum. How did that change you? In a way, as you're not doing small bars anymore. Now you're touring with opening for bands, or maybe headlining yourself. It must have been a lot different than before you had that double platinum album.
Well, when Turn It Loud came out, we were already scheduled to do the Lock Up Your Sons tour because we were signed to Solid Gold Records, who had just signed Chilliwack, who had just lost their contract with Mushroom Records because Shelley, the president, passed away. And so that's kind of where that is where the Headpins came from. And as Brian and Ab were in litigation, getting out of a contract and getting into a new contract, and they wanted to keep their chops up. So they formed a club band called the Headpins. And once Chilliwack got re-signed by Solid Gold, they came out to sign them, and McLeod brought the presidents, because there was two, Neil and Stephen Neal, and brought them out to a club one night where he was playing, not with Chilliwack, because Chilliwack wasn't working. And they signed the Headpins. That's why on the Turn It Loud album, Brian and Ab are not credited with being a player or players on the album. The only artist credited is myself, because they were signed to Chilliwack. I was the only artist signed to the contract at the time, too. So it was a big burden that rested on my head. But 21, I had no idea what was going on. I just signed the papers. That's what I was told.
Yeah, sign the papers and keep singing. And then, of course, you Don't It Make You Feel. I mean, geez, you can't even drive in your car for an hour anywhere, at least here in Ontario, and I'm sure everywhere in Canada. And you can hear Don't It Make You Feel. I mean, what a song. So great success came along with that first album, for sure. You guys were touring Europe, North America, opening for bands like Kiss, Whitesnake, ZZ Top, and Aerosmith, correct?
Yeah.
How exciting is that?
It was crazy. It was crazy. Every one of those tours has multiple memories that are embedded in this poor old brain, and really grateful that I had those experiences, and to think that all happened, as well as writing 3 albums and doing not world tours, but leaving the country and touring Europe and touring the States. That all happened in a 4-year span.
Wow. Yeah. It's such a short time. 3 albums. Just incredible. Yeah. You must have been really, really busy. I guess probably never home.
Well, if we were home, we were in the studio.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So now let's talk about your solo, because here's what I want to do. I want to play, we have 3 songs of yours that I want to play tonight, but I want to talk about your solo album, because these are remastered from Never Look Back, which was released in 1990. And you remastered them, I believe, in 2017. So why don't we play Monkey, and then we'll come back and talk about the process and why you wanted to remaster these songs and move ahead with the solo career. How does that sound, Darby?
Awesome.
Great. Well, again, great to have you folks. I have the amazing Darby Mills on the show this evening. We're going to hear her song Monkey right now on this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
When we gonna realize there'll be no air to breathe? Come
Hey folks, as Gary says, welcome back to the show. We have Darby Mills on the show, Queen of Scream this evening, and we just heard the song Monkey, which was off her Never Look Back album from 1990, but remastered in 2017. Talk to me about Monkey. What a message that is, Darby.
Yeah, I thought so at the time. And it's kind of sad to think that the lyrics of that song are as poignant today, 30 some years later, as they were when it was written. Mankind, we are a breed, aren't we?
We're a special breed. There's some pretty special people out there, but and I think I'm being facetious when I say that, but yeah, I guess love is the thing that, for me, that I just keep thinking that love is the thing that that we try to live by, and be close to friends and family, and keep moving forward with love. That's my thought on it all.
Probably a good way to look at it, I think, in this time, because the hate appears to only breed more hate, and that ain't working, I don't think.
That's not working. I like to think that there's probably a lot more love than hate. But let's talk about, you're in a bit of a situation. I want to talk, we had a little bit of a chat before the show started about the fires that are going on around you. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, we have fires north, south, east, and west of us here in the Okanagan. There's no escape. We're kind of locked in somewhat. I'm sure they're opening the highways, or doing their best to open the highways. But if we are to be evacuated, as we were on notice a couple of days ago, there's really nowhere to go. So, yeah, it's a crazy world.
Well, we're wishing you the best with that. Let's get back to why you decided you wanted to remaster the 3 songs from the album. I think they're EPs, right? The 3 songs that we have are EPs, are they? Off that album that are remastered.
I remastered the whole album. It's now called Flying Solo, and It was pressed and re-released in, I think you mentioned 2017. I can't quite remember. Actually, it was before that. I think it was before that. It was just before I left the Headpins. It was kind of in the wind up to making my exit.
Yeah, and you just decided that would be something that you'd want to do, is remaster that album rather than maybe make a new album?
Well, here's my thought at the time. When I was still performing with the Headpins, the last, trying to think of the right word for it, the last lineup for the Headpins had pretty much been the same lineup for almost 26 years. And we were playing the same 13, 14 songs for that 26 years in the same order, the same set. And it had become routine, not that we didn't give it our all every show, but the trying to get us to change, trying to get that lineup to change up a little bit, to bring in something new. I said, I've got songs that were singles on the radio. We could add those. And they just didn't want to. So lots of life changes happened at the time. Just before I left the band, a year and a half before, I'd lost my mom, who I had been their caregiver, my mom and dad's caregiver, and we took them from their home and put them in a care home because they were in dire need of assistance, and spent a year and a half getting them to the doctor at least once, twice a month, the ear doctor, the eye doctor, the drugstore, the tests. It became a pretty much a full-time job. And after a year and a half to 2 years of my doctor here, thank you, Dr. Perrier, for taking them on as patients and getting them back on the correct meds and basically getting them healthy. It was less than 3 weeks after we got the all clear that I no longer had to take them in once a month. Their next appointment would be 6 months away. They were free to go and enjoy life my mom died of a brain aneurysm. And so that was just a real eye opener to, wow, we are not immortal. Death does happen. We'd been very lucky in our family, had lost very few family members, and so lost mom, regardless of how much time and energy we spent trying to fix the problems. They were all fixed, and we lost her due to something else. And then 6 months later, my husband basically had a heart attack and died in the ambulance in our driveway or on our block. And it just became really obvious to me at the time that I didn't have a lot of time left to figure out what I wanted to do and to quit being the bitch in the back seat of the van as we drove around, trying to get people to see things my way. So I just decided that while I still had that Janis Joplin voice, that I could still handle the Headpin tunes. And I had been listening to Never Look Back in my car, strangely enough, over the past 3 or 4 months, driving to Vancouver for shows. And I realized that if I could play the same 13, 14 song set for 26 years and still do a good job and bring it together, that the year I had to promote and tour Never Look Back in 1990 and 91, it didn't get near the shot that it deserved, because honestly, I feel it's the best work I had ever done to date. So I suggested, well, we went through the negotiation process with the Headpins, and there was just no agreeing on where we were going to go forward. So with my newfound fear of losing it and not having enough time to complete any mission, if I kept going for another 10 years with the Headpins, I'd be too old to attempt to try something on my own. So yeah, it was a big kick in the butt, and it was like time to take the wheel and drive. And basically that's what we did, or I did. And so I went into the studio, remastered, had it remastered. I didn't do it myself, but had Tony Delacroce remaster it for me and pressed it. And we've gone through 2 pressings now, and we did pick up a world distribution deal through True North. But that's what it is. That's a hello and a goodbye all in the same sentence. So I work it really hard. And in this day and age, you have to be your own manager, your own promoter, your own producer, your own stylist, basically you got to take it on yourself. And that's when I realized just how important a good team is, because if you can't work well with the people you're with, it's just way more aggravation than is due in this day and age. You don't need to do that. And so I'm really happy to find a wonderful group of people that I'm working with right now, and we're touring on the strength of the Flying Solo album, which was Never Look Back. And we've put out some new stuff. We put out a medley of Headpin songs, and that came about because we only did 4 Headpin songs in the set, maybe 5. And every time we got on the stage or on the path to the stage would be, why aren't you doing Breaking Down? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it's just because we're not the Headpins. They're out there working. You can go see them if you want to hear all those songs. I've got a broader scope right now, and I don't want to do a whole Headpin show. So the first month of COVID, we had scheduled rehearsals to get ready for 2020, which was a break through the glass ceiling year, as it was our 5th year, and we were getting into shows that I had been told I would never get into after leaving the Headpins, that I was just not good enough. And some of those shows were coming through, and we were booked in them, and then COVID struck. So at a rehearsal that we managed to put together, the guys suggested in my band that why don't we answer those people that keep requesting? Why don't we do a medley? And it's like, you know what? I could get on with that. I could do a 5, 6, 7 song medley that brings all the Headpins' most known songs together and put it. So we did a 13-song medley. We shot a video for it on one downturn of the COVID restrictions. It all came together in like a 2-week period. Bang, 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 bang. It got done. It got released, and now we've got that to go with. So, but basically, live, I do a Headpins show and a Darby Mills Project show. It's all in there for everybody. So there's hopefully no more bitching.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing, Darby. It really is. You know, that's people saw you back in the day doing that stuff. You have hit songs on the radio, double platinum songs. It's just common that guys like I'm going to go off track of the music that you play. We'll call it rock music. Like guys like Willie Nelson playing Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, or Aerosmith playing Walk That Way since they were 19, and they play it when they're 60. It's just a part of it's just a part of the gig. It's just part of it, and so that's great that you do the melody, the medley of those songs in your show, because I'm sure it really makes a lot of fans of you happy. The other thing I wanted to mention was I did see a video of you saying it was just time for me to take the driver's seat. And I absolutely love that when I saw that part of the video. Take the driver's seat and start doing things kind of my way. And I absolutely adore that.
It was a huge challenge. My husband was the co-manager of the Headpins back in the original form. And when it was found out that the two of us were seeing each other, he was given the alternative to drop me or drop the band. And so as of last week, we've been married 37 years. So
good for you.
We know what he did. But he'd left it in doing that, in leaving the band and leaving the agency that he was co-managing us with. Basically, he walked, as I did, but 37 years ago, he walked away from what he had been doing for the past 10 years, which was an agent and a manager. And the industry does tend to eat its young. And, you know, there was a lot of things being thrown at him to frustrate him and get him out of the business. And even though he got 4 or 5 different acts signed with record contracts from Europe, Virgin, and down in the States and whatever, eventually he had just had enough of fighting that uphill battle. And we started a family and moved up here, and kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry where I was going with that, but yeah, it's...
No, you were just basically saying why you just went head on by yourself and took everything on, and that's a very admirable. You know what, Darby? I have 4 emails here. I have 2 more songs I want to play. Love these songs. I have 4 emails here I want to read really quickly to you, and then we'll play another song. This one says, "Hello, Barry." It says, "I am." Sorry, one second. What am I doing here? This one is from. Ralph from Atlantic City, New Jersey. He says, "Hey all, so Hart actually started Darby's career. That is wild." And that's what he says. Now, I think he just means because of you singing one of the Hart songs. But that's basically how it got you inspired, I would assume.
Hugely instrumental. Ann Wilson was hugely instrumental with her voice in forming my first sound. Definitely, I would sing to the Dreamboat Annie album every day. It was a huge part, definitely.
And who doesn't love those songs by Hart? I know they went on to do a little bit more lax stuff later as they got older, which is totally understandable. But like Barracuda and Crazy on You, when I first heard that stuff, I was just like, wow. And they're well-deserved band for sure. Here's another email from Chris. Chris says, "What a song, Monkey. Holy crap, powerful, excellent, well done." That's from Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Emma says, "I am so sorry for Darby's losses. Love her. What a powerful woman. May God bless her."
Cheers.
And
you know The answer to that is that there's always going to be a challenge. Life is just a challenge, and you can fight and work hard to reach somebody else's end game, or you can take the wheel and work and jump those hurdles and reach those challenges to reach your own end game. And that's the choice that I made, and I'm grateful for it. Not that it hasn't been really difficult at times, but seriously, there's always going to be a hurdle in front of you, so you might as well make it a hurdle that gets you where you want to be.
Absolutely agreed. And, nowadays there's lots of female singers. Back in the day, when you were rocking on stage, you were huge inspiration to girls all around because they see you up there. There wasn't as many lead female singers, and they see you up there just rocking it out with that Janis Joplin voice, and just very inspiring for lots of, and not just girls, guys too, but I'm saying very inspiring for females to move forward with their music career as well. So congratulations on that. Awesome.
Thank you.
I have another email here from Tammy. Tammy says, "Hey, always curious about this. Is Darby really Darby's name or a nickname? Thanks."
You know what? Darby's been my name since I could remember hearing people call me it. But the truth is, when my mom passed and we had to go through all her possessions and sort them out and figure out what to do with them, we came across a chest with my three siblings' birth certificates in it. And Darby is not actually my first name. My first name is a secret because I have to go by it, which was really strange because I didn't realize I'd even asked my mom before she passes, what is Darby my real name, or is it this other name? And she said, I don't know. I can't remember.
Darby, what a story.
Yeah, so it is my name. I was named after Darby O'Gill and the Little People, as far as I know, but it's my middle name. It's not my given name, but it's the name I've gone by all my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that email there. We appreciate the emails that the listeners send in to us. Let's play another song called Don't Stop, Darby, and I want to come back and talk about this song as well. Folks, I have Darby Mills on the show this evening. You're listening to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101, and this is Don't Stop. Hey, welcome back, folks. I have Darby Mills on the show this evening. We just heard "Don't Stop Keeping On." Darby, it's pretty self-explanatory, that song, but it feels to me like you went through something in your life and then just gathered up some strength and wrote this song so you could move forward. That's what it kind of feels like.
Well, yeah, that song was written right after I lost my job with the Headpins, and I mean, there's a million stories I can tell you about everything that went on back then. But life goes on, the ups and downs. I was lucky to retain. When the Headpins let me go, they were signed to MCA in the States out of Los Angeles, and unbelievably to me, I retained the contract, and Brian McLeod did not, which made no sense to me, but I wasn't going to turn it down. So I moved down to LA for a while and tried to do some writing with some, session writers down there, house writers, and we got enough material. They sent me over to Europe, and I recorded at two studios over there, Ridge Farm Studio and Eel Pie, which was Pete Townsend's studio. I think he sold it in the last couple of years. But anyway, so I got to hang with Pete a little bit, and Tony Levin. Yeah, Tony Levin played bass on it, and backup singers from Mike and the Mechanics came in, a conga player from Santana, Tina Turner's guitar player from the Private Dancer album, and the producer was Greg Walsh from the Private Dancer album. So it was nothing but stars and star. Every day I walk in the studio going, oh my God, like, what is happening? This is so cool. And six songs in, I flew home to Vancouver just to get a chance to do some more writing, and I had Eel Pie call me and say, we can't reach your record company. They're not returning our calls. And it's like, what? What? That's not a good thing. So my then manager at the time and I got on a plane and flew down there and found out that the A&R man who had retained me in the contract had been let go. And there was now a new staff, new secretaries, new everybody in the A&R department. And after having a meeting with the new assigned A&R president, if you will, he told me flat out that it didn't matter they'd spent $120,000 American on the record so far. He wanted to break a female artist this year, and it was between me and this 16-year-old who he just thought had something about her, and no doubt she did. Tiffany went out and rocked the world with
wow. Tiffany.
I think we're alone now. Yeah. So I came home, and that was kind of that. And 4 years later, managed to get it together enough to get the deal. And that song, "Don't Stop Keeping On," came out of that period of just what the heck is going on. But don't stop. Don't stop.
And
you just don't know.
And you know what? You're not the first. I can't imagine. I often think I've never had the success to be playing. I played in bars. That's it. Local bars for 10 years, but I never had the success of being on a huge stage or having a big record deal where, and I'm sure it happens to an awful lot of people. One day you're playing to 50,000, 30,000, 10,000 people, and the next day you're at home without, not because of any of your choices. So I can't, but that definitely is the ups and downs of rock and roll. Let me just tell your fans and the folks out there listening, you could find Darby's stuff on darbymills.com, and you could check the Darby Mills Project out, folks, on Facebook. Darby, there's a part, my favorite part of the show is when I ask the artist, tell me a crazy rock and roll rock star story that has happened to you on a bus, on a plane, on a stage, just something crazy that's happened.
Let me think. Well, there's a story that I've told many times over the years, and it's not a most incredible story, but I've gotten to know this person a little bit. And in the meantime, and he's a piece of work, mind you, aren't we all? But Headpins in the early days did the Kiss tour here in Canada, and Vinnie Vincent was the guitar player. He had just came in, and I remember one day sitting at the sound check waiting for them to finish so we could get up, and Gene giving Vinnie Vincent a lesson on being a showman, which was kind of embarrassing and funny, and poor Vinny. I mean, he must have felt like crap, the opening act down there, and he's getting a lesson from Gene. But on that tour, about 3-4 shows in, and this was without Brian and Ab too. This was the B team, but we were still doing well enough that the lights went out. And this was in, I don't know, Ottawa maybe, or Quebec, and we've got our stage call. We're walking up on stage, getting ready to go, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Where's that coming from?" And I look, and way up is Gene Simmons, and I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" And he's like, "I'm good. So I like you guys. What do you listen to?" And the only thing I could think of saying was Marshall Tucker. But the look on his face when I said that is a look that I will remember, because I honestly think I'm one of very few people that really stumped Gene Simmons. I did not expect that, and I had to go, so I just waved and I walked away. But I left enough of an impression that years later, I met up and toured many times with Helix, and Brian Vollmer came up to me and said, we were over in Europe touring with with Kiss, and Gene came up to me and he said, "Hey, that band in Canada with the chick singer?" I don't know if he remembered the name or not. And Brian said, "You mean Darby Mills?" I said, "Yeah, that's it. She was good." So kudos to Gene, even though he is a wingnut. I'm sorry, Gene, but you're a wingnut, and and so that's one of my favorite stories to remember, is how I stumped Gene Simmons.
Absolutely, and maybe he was expecting to say Kiss. Who do you listen to?
What?
Kiss.
I bet he was.
I wonder how many people he's asked that and they said Kiss. So that's why he remembers you, because you didn't say Kiss.
I didn't say Kiss. Yeah, that's right.
But let's face it, you toured with Whitesnake, ZZ Top. I read a story, and trust me, man, I love ZZ Top from bottom to top, no pun intended. And but I heard that you guys kind of blew them away at one of the shows, and that just happens. I mean, but me and my wife saw ZZ Top a couple of years ago at the Budweiser stage. We weren't expecting them to be there. They were on an Outlaws tour, and what a band! Just a great band. But that's one of the stories I just wanted to share that I heard.
Which one are you talking? Well,
the ZZ Top one.
We were at our heyday. Canada was really giving us our props through that time, and there wasn't a show that we did. I think it was 7 or 8 shows perhaps across Canada with them, and we were supposed to get the American tour as well. It was set up that way anyway, and we were getting encores every night, in the sense of the room was going wild, but ZZ Top would not give us an encore. They would turn the house lights on, and there was one particular night out in Ontario or Quebec. I think it was in Quebec. That it was an arena. A massive old arena, and we left the stage, the lights came on, the crowd was going crazy, and we went into the dressing room, and they started stomping on the bleachers from on top, and the asbestos that I'm thinking was coating all the pipes and everything in the dressing rooms was falling down on all our food. And however gross that was, I remember thinking, this is better than any encore. These guys are going to riot because they want to hear us play. Right. And it was, unfortunately, it was on that tour that I ended up getting fired. And it was the candle on the cake was my reaction to a statement made about ZZ Top from someone in the band, and it ended up killing my career with the Headpins, at least that version of them anyway. But so yeah, there's a history between me and ZZ Top, and the Headpins and ZZ Top, and strangely enough, Ab Bryant, because the band broke up at the end of that tour. Ab Bryant ended up getting called in to go play down in Australia with Jimmy Barnes, that ended up doing that ZZ Top tour. So it's a crazy world.
Full circle. And you know what? I probably don't even have to ask you this, but the guys in ZZ Top, I'm sure, are just the utmost classiest guys, all three of them. So just an amazing band as well. Touring with Aerosmith, Steven Tyler's kind of quite the showman. What was your thoughts what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, we didn't actually tour with them. We opened a show, or we were on the bill with them somewhere, and that gets put into the promo stuff. We were on the same stage as them for sure, so I can't take credit for a tour with them. But I'm a huge Steven Tyler fan. I think that he has it. Absolutely.
Biggest showman. Yep.
Yeah.
Biggest showman out there. Darby, if you don't mind, I know it's 7:56. The show goes to 8. I want to play another song. I want to talk about something that you do or have done in your spare time. Would you mind if we went a few minutes late? Would that be okay with you?
No, that's awesome.
Oh, we appreciate it. Such an honor to have you, folks. I am talking to the one and only Queen of Scream, Darby Mills. We're going to hear her song right now, Cry to Me, on this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
You say you've never been lonely, but you feel like you're losing control. Reach for your love up beside you. Are you just too afraid to let go?
Okay, folks, welcome back. Of course, we have Darby Mills on the show. Darby, Cry to Me. Now, I'm hearing a lot. I could be way off track here, but I'm hearing a definite Heart inspiration, the band Heart inspiration with that song. Do you feel the same way?
No, not necessarily, but cool. That would only be a tribute to them if it was in a really good sense. So yeah, it's all good.
Good. Awesome. I want to ask you about your writing, your creative writing process. Do you pick up a guitar and play some chords and write music to it, or do you write as if, say, poems and then put music to it? Do you write the lyrics first, or do you use an instrument to write your lyrics?
I don't play any instrument well enough to actually use as a writing tool, unfortunately. And that's one of my biggest regrets, is that I didn't keep up, because I could play a little bit of guitar when I was a kid, but working with someone like Brian McLeod, there's just no reason to play guitar.
Right.
Yeah, why bother? But inspiration comes in many forms and at many different times. And so scrap paper and toilet paper and those kind of things, they've all happened. Writing is one of the hardest parts of this job for me. It's like pulling teeth, literally, with a fish hook. I hate it, and yet it's so wonderful when you're finished and you can listen to it and go, I did it. I accomplished it. That's yay. So I don't do a lot of it, and it's probably one of the reasons why there's not a new album out. And we've got new material. We've got a song or two that will be coming out in the next little bit. COVID kind of threw a fish hook into all of that, and hopefully it'll be songs that I'm proud of. But I just, I'm okay, I believe. I'm okay with thinking that I might be traveling a similar path to my heroes, which is Bette Midler and Tina Turner and Cher, which those were my first experiences to female singers as a child. And unknowingly, having them as being a huge influence on me as a performer, not necessarily a singer. Bette Midler as a performer, she taught me just how crazy you could be, and Cher, how beautiful you could be. And I won't feel bad that I am not known for my writing. I'm okay with being hopefully accepted and appreciated as a vocalist, and a mother and a jeweler and a black belt Taekwondo instructor and a figure and I got enough things that I've done in my life that I can hold my head high and say I've achieved a lot as a inner 60s-year-old woman in this day and age. So if the writing comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always rewarding to write a song. And do you think the songs you've written in the past obviously reflect what's going on in your life at the time? I know for me, some songs just come out of nowhere. They make no sense. They have nothing to do with what's going on in my life. 10%, I would say, of the songs I write are like that. The other 90% are what's going on in my life, or friends or family, or somebody says something and it just sticks with you. So do you feel like a lot of the songs that you've written in the past have to do with what's going on in your life?
Well, I think it's easier to write what write from an experience, because then you can draw on, the colors and the feeling and the day or whatever. If you're making it up, you're not as connected with it. But then again, I'm not a professional writer. I've just done some writing, so don't ask me. Go talk to somebody who's written a million songs and has a hit or two or five, you know.
Like Chris Christopherson, right?
or yes, or Gene. And oh, wait a minute, they don't write their own songs. That's right.
I have another email here. This goes back to your name. Harry sent me an email. I want to read it because I try to get them all. Harry says, "Do you know what this means now? Thousands of Darby fans are now going in research to find her name online to try to find out what her first name is." So there you go. I don't think we're going to find it though, are we, Darby?
Well, you know what? It does slip up, and if I got to get on a plane or anything like that, it comes out. And flying out of Kelowna for the past 26, or however many years, the stewardesses and the staff there they just giggle when they see me having to admit what my name is, because it's a yeah. My name is Darby. My name is Darby.
Absolutely. Hey, that's how I know you by. Just okay. Let me ask you one more question. The best jam you've ever played in. Now that could be somebody coming out on stage that you didn't expect, or somebody that you did expect, but they came out on stage and jammed with you. Do you have
there's just so many coming from the 80s where you worked every day of the week, all night long, got up, did your day job, and then still went out at night. Whatever got us through that, I wonder. I have a Darby Mills Project YouTube channel as well, and on there is a video of me over-singing a blues jam with John Bon Jovi, Joe Elliott, Paul Dean,
cool.
Reed, I can't remember, Reed, a wonderful male singer that was up there too, and I can't remember what his full name is. But we got up there and did a 12-bar blues jam at a drunken party in Vancouver. I'm not sure what year that would have been. I might have been out of the Headpins, so it might have been about 87, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, that was a pretty cool jam because John was that was a pretty cool jam.
I bet. And you mentioned Paul Dean. We had him on the show. What a wonderful guy. I did some karate. So I said that was the last question, but I just have one more. I'm very impressed that you're a black belt in Taekwondo. I mean, I did karate for about 2 years and then just couldn't do the forms anymore. I still kickbox. It's just a lot better or easier for me to go to the dojo and kick the bag and punch the bag and work out. But the forms are what got me. You have to be awfully dedicated and I guess confident. Is that the word I'm looking for? To be able to get a black belt in Taekwondo. Do you still practice that?
You know what? I don't, but I have, after leaving, I taught for around 8 or 9 years. I drug my 5-year-old into Keys Taekwondo here in Vernon, carrying my 1-year-old in the basket. My 1-year-old learned to crawl and then walk, and by 2.5 he was taking Taekwondo, and in grade 4 he was a black belt. But I was one of those, as you would call it, a hockey mom, and I would sit and yell at the kids watching the classes. My children knew better than to muck around, but there'd be other kids in the class, so I'd just yell at my kids. Graham, stop that! And it wouldn't even be him, and they'd look at me like, what? I'm not doing anything. So eventually they just said, Darby, you have to stop doing that, and probably why don't you get out on the floor and participate then, if you insist on being so present in the classes. And within 3 years, I was on the verge of getting my black belt when I broke my ankle doing a flying side to the board to achieve my black belt, and ended up working in the office because I couldn't train anymore. I had a 3-month non-weight-bearing cast. So they threw me in the office, and by the time the cast came off, I was teaching the 3-year-olds, and by year 2, I was one of the full-time instructors, and it lasted between 8 and 9 years, and both my kids were gone. I'm like, what? I'm still in here. both of them reaching black belt and higher. And so Mom had to do it too, just to be, so I couldn't bitch at him anymore. See, I can do it too, but yeah, the forms are, you got to have your head about you to do the forms. And yet as a figure skater, and I appreciated what the forms were, and quite enjoyed doing the forms. But after breaking my ankle, I couldn't jump anymore. And as a figure skater, that was horrid, because my jump ability was everything, especially for breaking boards with jumping front. I mean, I could clear over, I could clear 6 feet, but not anymore. So, then at that point, started realizing that I was helping to run a school that, with a man who, if he decided to retire, I was out of a gig, and I'd spent the last 9 years helping him build a school. So yeah, all those things just kind of collided at one time, with my mom passing and my husband, and it was just, it was really a sign to me from the universe to stop bitching about it and do something about it. And once again, there's always going to be a hurdle. You might as well make it a hurdle that gets you what your appreciation and what you should try to get out of life. Figure out what that is first, and then aim your boat there and go.
Agreed. And what an inspiration you are. There's a segment of the show that I like to do, Darby, called "Well, Gary LaBar, what do you think?"
Wow. What do I think? Let me tell you this. The song Monkey, I'm hearing that I don't get why people in Hollywood don't sign that song for a soundtrack or a film score. That is a very powerful song, very well made, very well produced. And if I was any kind of a director or producer in Hollywood, I would be all over that for a movie. That's number one. And, I got to agree with Barry here, Darby. I do hear a lot of Ann Wilson, or maybe Ann Wilson copies you in your vocal, but I do. I hear that, the vibrato, the range, I think it's beautiful. So I hear that, not necessarily influenced to write a song, but the vocal ability and capability. I think it's amazing. I think the production of your music is phenomenal. The sonic, I'm listening to it in very high-end headphones here. And man, whoever mixed and mastered that stuff, compared to a lot of stuff that Barry and I listen to, wow. Kudos to them. I wish you the best.
And thank you. And considering that it's 28 years old now,
Yeah.
It still stands the test of time. And that's why I decided to tour it and give it an opportunity to see the light of day again, because I really don't think those songs got the chance back in 91 to shine. So, we'll, as I'm aging here, as we sit, we'll just keep enjoying those songs and bringing them to the public as long as I can keep singing them. And a few new things are on their way, but, just thank you to the public for being so kind and sticking with me throughout all these years. It's really been a wonderful life. Thank you.
Excellent.
Absolutely, Darby. And it's been wonderful to have you on our show. Like I say, you're an absolute inspiration, a rock and roll queen, and we appreciate you being here. I want to follow your progress. Hopefully, if you can sneak out or fly over the fires and get out and start playing some. I know it's a little early right now, but you get out and start playing some with your band, the Darby Mills Project. We'd love to come and see you. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Gary. And Barry, you have a safe rest of the summer. You be careful on your journey across this massive country. I don't know if you've driven the prairies before, but it's long.
Yeah,
I haven't.
Yes.
So we're hoping to get through it quick. Maybe we'll take turns driving. That's why we're bringing the car. So hopefully we'll get through it quick enough. But I am making a stop in Calgary because that's where my daughter is. So we'll be there for a couple of days. But thank you again. Thank you, Darby. I appreciate you being here. And like I say, we'll follow your progress as you continue to move along in that amazing music career that you've had. And to the listener, I say thank you for being here. Always dance and sing, and let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to This House of Musicians on Reality Radio 101.